What is going on, New York Giants fans? D. Illa here. The wait is finally over. The season is here. It's Wednesday. Couple more days down the road, we'll be starting New York Giants football. Yes, sir. Season starts tomorrow. We get a good game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. Me personally, I believe the Chiefs are going to come out on top in that one. I know the Ravens have a strong defense, but I believe the Chiefs are going to be too much for that football team in the end. I think they're going to find ways to execute on the ground with Isaiah Pacheco. And I think at times Xavier Worthy will be used to create big plays for that offense because the Baltimore Ravens will be so preoccupied with stopping guys like Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce underneath. It just takes one time for that team to slip up and lose track of where Xavier Worthy is on that field, and he'll be catching a deep touchdown pass to potentially, put that team, put that game away. But it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a close game throughout. The Ravens are going to come out and probably try to, control the time of possession in that ball game with Derrick Henry. I think that's their best bet, try to keep the Kansas City Chiefs off the field. But I don't know why I'm continuing to ramble on about that game. We're here to talk about New York Giants football. The Giants start the season against the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday. I believe it's at 1 o'clock. When I did my schedule prediction video, I had the Vikings winning this game. That was before the J.J. McCarthy injury took place. And I said this because, I thought there was a real uncertainty as far as how that Minnesota Vikings offense would be run. Kevin O'Connell saw something in McCarthy, and I thought there was a chance before the season started that McCarthy could potentially be the starting quarterback for this team. So I didn't know exactly how this offense was going to really look going into week number 1. And honestly, if both quarterbacks stayed healthy throughout training camp, we saw what J.J. McCarthy did in the preseason. I think McCarthy could have made a strong push to actually take over that starting role, week 1, regardless if he's a rookie or not. I get Sam Darnold is a veteran, but Sam Darnold has had his time in this league, and he hasn't been very good with the time that's been given. Going into this game, a big factor for the Giants in stopping this Minnesota offense, outside of Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, who's coming back from an ankle injury, we have to stop the running game. We have to stop the running game. We have to figure out a way to stop Aaron Jones. Dalvin Cook's not in that backfield anymore. This will be year number 2 without Dalvin Cook. Ty Chandler was in that backfield last year. Alexander Madison, that little experiment really didn't work out. Ty Chandler is the number 2 running back in that system now. But they now have Aaron Jones. We saw how good Aaron Jones was down the stretch for the Green Bay Packers last season. And I've heard some people out there talk about how Aaron Jones could be washed up. And I'm like, well, why don't you go talk to the Dallas Cowboys about how washed up Aaron Jones is, considering what he did to them in the playoffs. Well, I think he scored, 3 touchdowns, had over 100 total yards. Aaron Jones is not washed up by any means at all. And if you give him any kind of running room, Aaron Jones will make you pay. He can still, create that big run for an offense. And I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to attack our edges. They're going to stay away from the interior where Dex is. That's their best bet. You don't want to run towards the interior of our defense. You want to attack our edges, Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. He's a great pass rusher, but he does struggle in the running game. And I think this is a part of this defense that an opposing team will attack throughout the year, is our edges. If we don't prove we can hold up. And I've been talking about this all offseason. And I've been talking about the secondary all offseason. For the past, 5 or 6 months, well before the draft even took place. I said this defense that the Giants have right now, we have a very good defensive line up front. Bobby Okereke, good solid linebacker. McFadden, good solid linebacker. Deontay Johnson, going to add something to that linebacker core. But when it comes to actually stopping the run, I'm a little weary of it, especially considering this was the 29th ranked rushing defense last season. And you've only got one piece on this defensive line that's really any different. Leonard Williams isn't here anymore. We're going to have either Elijah Chapman playing inside or Keem Noches, whatever the hell his name is. Some of these guys that play the interior, DJ Davidson, guys like that. It's tough to even remember these guys, man, because they don't really make much of an impact. But we all know Dex is the guy inside, man, and he's the guy that teams try to stay away from. But I think teams can have success running at Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. But if those guys are up to the task and they can hold the edges, we can do what we need to do to kind of slow down this running game. But if we don't, play action is going to become a key. And I really thought that was something that Kevin O'Connell could make, very useful, especially with a guy like J.J. McCarthy, considering he does have some running ability. He can get outside of that pocket and make things happen with his legs. But obviously he's not an option right now. So they have to make do with Sam Darnold. But I think we can put pressure on Darnold. I think we can make things happen with this defensive line. Hopefully Okereke and McFadden, they're up to the task as far as helping out. As far as, helping out our edges go on this defensive line. And whatever they can't get, our linebackers can clean up. And that's something I've talked about, as the season goes on. If these edges don't hold up, Bobby Okereke can only be in so many places, man. It's going to have to be a group effort from this defense. You're going to have help from your second and third level of this defense to really shut down the running game. And we'll just see how it works out. I don't know exactly who's going to win this ball game. I still think it's a toss-up. I think both teams are fairly evenly matched. I think if you ran down the rosters as a whole, quarterback-wise, maybe we get a slight edge, and that's just me being honest about the situation. I think Daniel Jones is a slightly better option than Sam Darnold. That tells you how much I think of Daniel Jones at this point. And again, I'm a guy that stuck up for Daniel Jones for a good 3.5, 4 years. I've been kicked off of people's channels for sticking up for Daniel Jones, so I don't want to hear any crap from anybody. But offensively, same thing for us, man. We really have to get the running game going and kind of establish some kind of running game with Devin Singletary. Maybe sprinkle in Tyrone Tracy a little bit here and there. I think we can use Tyrone Tracy, especially against this defense. Kind of try to minimize their pass rush some. They lost Danielle Hunter over the offseason. They signed Van Winkle, who I think he was in the top 5 as far as pressure rate, according to PFF. I don't use PFF very often. I know a lot of people out there have a tendency to use them for a reference, but, they did lose Hunter, but they did add a few pieces that can get to the quarterback. And this defense last year, it was a better defense than what you saw in 2022. So, with the loss of Danielle Hunter, I don't know exactly what we're going to see out of this defense, from a pressure rate. But I've listened to a couple of Minnesota Vikings, content creators. Their big concerns, especially on this team, is the interior of their offensive line going up against Dex. They know that's going to be an issue, much like basically every single team that we play. And the interior of their defensive line. They believe that could be an issue for them also. So maybe Devin Singletary can hit some runs, up against the center, right guard, left guard, maybe try to go off tackle here and there. We'll see what happens. We're going to be throwing the ball to Malik Neighbors. First game of the season, first game in the NFL for that kid. He's going to come out here and try to make a statement. There's no doubt about that. I know a lot of attention will be paid to him. So I would look for Wan'Dale Robinson to be used a good amount in this game, and I would not be surprised if a guy like Darius Slayton comes out and potentially has over 100 yards against the secondary. I'm almost willing to bet that Darius Slayton catches a deep ball in this game for at least a 40-yard touchdown. I would not be surprised by it one bit, especially with all the coverage that is going to go Malik Neighbors' way. Of course, we're probably going to have to use Daniel Jones's legs in this game. He'll have to find ways to escape out of that pocket, avoid pressure, pick up critical third downs when needed, and be that leader for this football team that all of us are hoping he can be in possibly his final season as the quarterback for this team. A lot of pressure is put on Daniel Jones this year. He knows he has to come out there and give this team some results and show some improved play over what he did last year, even though he got hurt. I think he knows his career as a starting quarterback in this league is potentially on the line. A lot of people talk about how that adds fuel to the fire for him, but I don't think over the past, 5 years of his career, I don't think anybody's had to add any fuel to his fire, man. He knows every quarterback that steps under center in the NFL, they know what they have to do, man. I don't think anybody has to give them any kind of bulletin board material. Like, you're a professional athlete, you got to this level for a reason. And of course, outside talk can definitely influence your play, but Daniel Jones being on the hot seat for the past couple of years, I don't think he needs any additional, fuel being added to the fire when it comes to his situation. I think he knows what he needs to do. It's just, can he go out there and do it? And that's the big question here. But as far as giving you a winner of this ball game, I don't know what team to choose. Honestly, I really don't. I think it could go either way. It could be a field goal that decides this game, or it could be the big play that decides this game. And if Darnold finds a way to sit back there in that pocket and he can create some time here and there, Justin Jefferson is a guy that can strike at any moment. Any moment. Jordan Addison's the same way. We don't have to worry about TJ Hockenson. He's injured. He's going to be out the first 4 weeks of the season. He's on PUP. Aaron Jones can strike. Aaron Jones probably isn't going to give you that 50 or 60-yard touchdown, but, he can burn you for 35, 40 easy. But it's going to be a defensive effort. It's going to be a defensive effort, and I think whoever comes up with the big play in this ball game is going to be what decides it. Or it could be a late field goal, to give whichever team gets that field goal the victory. That's how I think the game's going to play out, man. I'm very excited for the game. Glad the season is finally here. I'm just glad football is here, man. I can't wait to watch these games. I can't wait to watch the game tomorrow night and the games that will proceed after that on Sunday. It's going to be an awesome day. Football is here. I'm so excited for it. As you can see, it's early in the morning. I'm sitting here talking football. But I hope you guys enjoy this weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. I thank you for tuning in as always. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, take care. Bye.